Welcome to Bots and Beyond, your weekly dose of all things automation, mixing up end user, vendor, and consultant experience to create your go-to podcast for bot-related insights. I am your host, Wayne Butterfield.
I have another great episode this week titled Scale or Fail. And as is customary now, I'm happy to introduce this week's fantastic guest, Shail, someone I've known for a number of years and who's really helped drive the RPA industry forward with senior roles held in the BAU of RPA. That's Prism, Automation Anywhere, and of course UiPath, for anyone not aware of that little acronym. And I guess it's this unique position that really drives me towards your bot name for this week. You will hence be known forth as the trifector due to the senior roles being fulfilled. And you're so uniquely positioned as a result to talk about automation, it's untrue. So I'm hoping you wear this one with pride, Shail, and it'll be great if you can kick us off with your who you are, what you do, and why you do it, and give the audience some additional insight into your background.
Wayne, it's excellent to reconnect with you. That's a very interesting name, by the way, Trifecta. Thank you for sharing that. Look, my passion has been technology, and within technology, my passion has been automation and AI. I've been in the space for close to half a decade now, and most exciting elements have been interfacing with many, many large and small customers across the globe in their automation journeys and helping them along the way.
Fantastic. And I'm conscious of time already. And I know that we've got such a great discussion lined up on scaling, which is such a topical point. It's something that I must read about on a regular basis. And I know you've got some amazing insights that we really want to get into. You know, I guess for a lot of people, the term scale and what does scaling actually mean? What does scaling your automation program really mean is a question a lot of people have. Like, what's your view? Like, how would you answer that?
It is a question that a lot of people have. And in my humble opinion, Wayne, scale is one of the most misused words with automation. You know, at one point, FTE reduction had that place about 4 years ago. Now, scale carries the title of being the most misused word. How we got there does not matter as much as the definition of scale, which varies so broadly from customer to vendor's definition of scale in the market. You know, unfortunately, the industry has not done a good job of providing guidance on what scale means, and customers are struggling to define it. Now, I run an independent automation customer-only group called Vocal, which stands for Voice of the Customer in the Automation Landscape. And we now have over 50 key decision makers from around the globe in this group, and we talk about scale often. Scale is an outcome, not a solution. Scale is relative. I think a better measure of automation would be automation value. In fact, I have a paper coming out on this shortly, but let me describe what it means. Automation value is really taking your net cash flow from the incremental net cash flow from your post-automation efforts. And that's divided by the number of processes times the cost per process. If that ratio is greater than 1, you are in a much better position. If that ratio is less than 1, it's very likely that your automation effort will not get approved. So I have more detail coming out in this paper that describes the components of automation value and how it impacts the organization.
Amazing. I think I'm looking forward to that. So you must let me have a copy of that when it's out. And I love the idea of KPIing scale, which I think is, again, something very relevant. What would you say are the actual key elements to scaling, though? And again, I'm almost loath to use the term scale now, but what are the things that you need to be considering, right, to get to this positive value that you've just referenced?
Yeah, Wayne, from having worked with and still working with many automation customers, I find that there are 5 key elements required for a successful automation program. and you'll find this with me. You've heard about Vocal, the group that I run, and the acronym. Well, these 5 key elements also fit an acronym, and the acronym is CAP, US, CAP-US. And what that stands for is really that you need a champion in an organization. All automation programs begin with a champion who has the passion and ensures that every department and business unit is educated on the value of automation, not just RPA, the value of automation as it relates to their particular circumstances. So the champion has a good understanding of security, governance, analytics, how to weave together various automation technologies to achieve the business objective. The next one I would say is automation value, which I just talked about. Having the ability to demonstrate clear and distinct value from automation. The third is process selection, right? Having the right processes to automate, whether you use process mining solutions like Celonis or Scan.ai, or you identify processes yourself. Picking the right processes is critical to attaining a higher automation value. So we've got C for champion, A for automation value, P for process selection. The next is U2, which stands for usage and utilization. Nothing to do with Bono and the band. They are fantastic, the U2 group. This is about deeply understanding usage and utilization rates. There's been a tremendous flood of bots that have been sold in 2018 and 19 that has caused some organizations to put bots on the shelf or trade them back to the vendors for other services. The average utilization rate in the market was about 50% in 2018, and it went up to a whopping 60% in 2019. Granted, you need some time for bot maintenance, but if your bots are operating at lower than 75 to 80% utilization, and it's not by business design, then you certainly have to question why. So U2, usage and utilization, is important. And then synergy, right? When you're implementing automation, IT is your friend. And if you get it wrong, it can be your enemy. The CIO often owns the infrastructure necessary for running and deployment of bots. So collaboration between IT and the business units needs to be confirmed on day one of the program. And this synergy is critically important from not just day one of starting the project, but also along the length and the lifespan of the project to jointly actually measure the success of this important automation program. So there you have it, CAPUS, CAP-US. These are the 5 key elements.
Fantastic. And I love already the fact that you have an acronym for everything, and you will at some point, I guess, have to tell us more about the kind of vocal group, which sounds like bringing all of those automation leaders together and decision makers and really discussing things is something that's going to add real value and give you especially some real insight, which I guess we're hearing about now, right?
Absolutely. It's been an incredible experience leveraging these one-on-one relationships over the years to bring them together, to make the connections between the customers and have a front seat at the table to understand their challenges and how they're addressing them. It's very exciting.
And I'm guessing that not only helps you understand what are the key ingredients to growing, but they also tell you some of the challenges that organizations are undergoing as to what is stopping them from scaling. So, what's kind of your pearls of wisdom around inhibitors? I'd be really interested to see what nuggets of information you have around that.
That's a very good question. I think automation is as much about technology as it is about people. In fact, I take that back. I would argue it's more about people than technology. People expectations, change management is the biggest impediment, and the least explored aspect when it comes to automation. I've asked many customers in the vocal group and outside of that, what do you spend on change management? And guess what? They realize it's not even a line item in their spend. So resistance from stakeholders of a process is real. Resistance due to fear of jobs is real. Having a positive automation emotion inside your organization is critically important. So I would say one of the biggest impediments is change management. The other big impediment is not having a clear business value on the value of automation or automation value, and sharing the risk with the vendor.
I would completely echo the change management piece and how little attention is given to change management, and it's very easy to look, I guess, at the shiny technology and think that this is the panacea. And in reality, the technology, any technology in the wrong hands or without the right expertise, even without the right buy-in, is always going to be doomed to failure. So, completely echo that sentiment, and I can certainly say that I've been guilty of that myself in almost ignoring the kind of boring people side in favor of the shiny technology side, and then wondered why things have not quite gone to plan. So I think it's interesting that is certainly one of the key things, and it's certainly something that everybody needs to pay extra attention on when they are looking at how to accelerate their automation adoption.
I imagine you're seeing that from your customers as well, Wayne, as you talk to your customers.
Without a doubt. And again, I think the bit that I really took from what you said was that change management and change management costs were not even a line item on our business case. And that is so true, right? I mean, who on earth wants to spend six figures on a change management program to re-look at the way that their business works, either with or post automation? It's just not necessarily something that most people who embark on an automation program want to be spending their money on. But it almost feels like it now needs to be. If you are to really scale, it needs to be that important. So really interested insights there. I think that's definitely something that is worthwhile. It needs an entire episode on its own, how to do change management and automation right. So maybe there's a paper in it there as well for you, mate. Thinking about your previous roles, and you mentioned like the last kind of 5 years, half a decade now. Obviously, you've seen the market grow. I've looked at the market explode. I would say from mini acorns into the fastest growing segment in technology software. So, and you've been absolutely a part of that. You've been a key contributor. What do you think is needed to prove higher in automation value? Like, how do we maintain this? Like, what is it you feel that either needs to change or we need to do more of in order to continue with this rapid growth?
You're right about the explosive growth, Wayne. It's been a very interesting experience to experience the hyper growth in this market. Interestingly enough, the hyper growth has predominantly over the last couple of years been about net new expansion and net new customers, which is fantastic, and TAM expansion for various companies. So an automation program in an organization these days is a collection of technologies. It's not just RPA. It's RPA, it's IBPMS, it's iPaaS, it's AI capabilities, it's process mining, process discovery, and possibly a multitude of other technologies that are coming together. And very often than not, these technologies are not integrated. So customers are creating operational workarounds that are impacting their ROI, but also adding to their technical debt. And you asked what is needed to prove automation value. I think the core missing promise in the automation value has been generating new data and how to digitize the data that exists. That is the original promise, I believe, that automation started with. in addition to, of course, FTE savings, and we moved away from FTE savings. But the data from today's automation technologies will improve if automation is native. If not, we're looking at bolt-on, non-integrated solutions and all the data produced that can be written on the back of a stamp in the large schema of the business. So I believe that the data promise from automation, when realized, will generate long-lasting and higher automation value.
I think it's a really interesting point, and you think we move away from FTE savings as the key KPI to the value that we can extract from data. I guess in order for that data to be vast and varied enough, we need to enable scale, because as much as I'm sure having data from 5 processes could be useful to some organizations in to some degree, the data from 1,000 processes across your organization, many of them core customer journeys, is, I guess, invaluable. And it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how we move from or move our thinking around the value of automation away from cost out to, I guess, literally value creation through the use of data. So I think it's a really interesting point, Shail. I think that's certainly something I'll take away from the conversation today, as much as everything else. Any other last final pearls of wisdom to drop on us?
I would say that if you are a customer of automation and want a forum where that only consists of customers of automation, no selling, no analysts or service providers, drop Wayne a note, or we learn from each other's insights, which is fantastic. Wayne, this has been great to reconnect with you. I think we covered a lot. I don't have any other pearls of wisdom at the moment other than, I would say embrace automation and really start focusing on automation value as opposed to just the word scale.
Fantastic. I think it's a great point to end today's discussion on, Shail. Thank you very much for joining me this week, and thank you everybody for listening to Bots and Beyond. Thanks for listening to ISG Automation's Bots and Beyond podcast, your weekly dose of all things automation. See you next week for more news and views on RPA, intelligent automation, and AI.